Uncle Mark.
Yes.
There's a lot of derp out there in this there world.
If you say so.
If you're paying attention to the news, it seems like the derp is winning. But there's one place where the derp, she is the thickest. And Uncle Dan is going to take us to that place today.
Well, hold on a sec, just because we have a very emergency preparedness theme here. I did go on social media to talk about alternatives if you find yourself out of paper products in your house. And the derp that Dan's going to talk about is pretty thick, but it is a very thin single ply. So
that's true.
Use judiciously. And what is that, Dan?
Well, of course, you fellas are talking about the Bible.
La Biblia. Yes.
And I'll tell you this. If there's one thing that I've learned from studying the Bible, it is to abandon all faith in my fellow human beings. Not just the human beings in the Bible, of course. Most of that nonsense very obviously never happened. But rather, the Bible for me has just been an extremely potent indicator that all of my fellow travelers on this planet are, by and large, ding-dongs. Mm-hmm. All of us. Every single one of us.
Except us.
Because here's the thing.
Seems about right.
Well, obviously not us. But you have to say us so that you don't sound like a total dick.
Right.
But look, if you bring even the tiniest little bit of objectivity to God's holiest of books, even if only accidentally once in a while, you'll instantly see that the main theme that runs throughout the 1,200-page tome is inconsistency.
Yes.
The book contradicts itself over and over and over. God contradicts himself over and over. One prophet says one thing, and in the very next chapter, another prophet says exactly the opposite. And according to the Bible anyway, they're both right. So, the Bible is a glistening example of how humans, all of us, are so bad at reasoning that if we were given even a tiny bit of emotional motivation, we can topple our logic entirely, and the derp will triumph. So that's what we're going to dig into today.
Hooray.
Yes.
Today's bit of biblical derp is from the first book of Kings, also known as 1 Kings in the MAGA translation.
1 Kings.
1 king.
1 Kings,
yeah,
2
exactly.
Kings, 3 Kings, me king.
Chapter 16 of 1 Kings lists a series of kings in Israel, which sounded pretty straightforward, except that for chronological context, it tells us the year each king was crowned by saying it was the blank year of Asa, king of Judah, as in the 26th year of Asa, king of Judah, Elah, son of Baasha, became king of Israel. And I suppose that that's useful, except that in Chronicles 16:1, Baasha was still king of Israel, and that was listed as the 36th year of Asa. So how could he have died and his son become the king in Asa's 26th year? Just a cute little issue.
I think, Dan, they're more like star dates in Star Trek. It's just kind of bullshit.
They just make up the dates. Yeah. I mean,
nobody kept track of them.
Come at me.
Yeah.
I feel like the star dates are like hyper accurate. I feel like there's something about I feel like if you're not careful, trekkers are going to send you a long explanation of why star dates are the most accurate
True enough.
accounting of time in the world or in the universe. Anyway, the other thing is that I actually had never really noticed that Judah and Israel were two different kingdoms.
Oh.
That's just me being derpy. I kind of just thought that they were both the same. So anyway, I learned that Israel was the northern kingdom and Judah was the southern kingdom. And while we're on the subject, the word kingdom, in my mind, sounds pretty fucking grand. I hear that word and my brain gets real impressed. But let's get real about these ancient, quote, kingdoms. Think about the modern state of Israel, which is a cute little nubbin of a country, which is bigger than Rhode Island but smaller than New Jersey. Now, take that and chop it into 5 or 6 pieces. One of those pieces is ancient Judah, south along the western shore of the Dead Sea, which includes Jerusalem. And one of those is ancient Israel, which is north up and around the Sea of Galilee. And most of that land was inhospitable wasteland. So these big-time kings ruled over vast kingdoms the size and scope of a couple of counties in southern Utah, just for context.
Yeah.
not exactly like, empires the world over or whatever.
Bit of an aspirational title.
Yeah, it's not Britannia rules the waves. This isn't.
Yeah,
Right.
More
yeah, exactly.
County commissioner tops.
Here we are in Israel. Yeah, exactly. Here we are in Israel, and at least according to this chapter of this book, we are between the 26th year of Asa's reign in Judah and the 38th year. Israel has, and in that time frame, Israel has had 5 different kings. So, not doing great on the keeping a king around.
High turnover.
Front.
High turnover.
Yeah, it is. You know what? It's a volume gig. That's all. If you can't make it work, it's the next guy. The chapter ends with King Ahab. Now, the Lord was already pissed at these kings because way back...
I thought Ahab was a captain. Did he get a promotion?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
He stopped with the whale hunting long enough to become king.
Good for him.
Yeah, it's a step up.
Yeah.
You never know.
Everybody's entitled to a second act
goes
in
to
life.
show.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So way back 12 years ago, during the rule of Baasha, the Lord was accusing him of following in the ways of Jeroboam and causing Israel to sin. Now, I'm sure we all know how annoying it must be to God for his people to follow in the ways of Jeroboam.
Yeah.
Right? Am I right, you guys?
Jeroboam.
Jeroboam?
Rarely is the question asked, what would Jeroboam do?
Is our Jeroboam learning?
Ahab, here's the thing. Jeroboam was worshiping the wrong gods, and now Ahab was going a step further because he thought Jeroboam was being a pussy about it. While Jeroboam had been all about setting up altars to, not Yahweh, Ahab married the daughter of Ethbaal, the king of Sidonians. She was a hot little number named Jezebel, and her people worshipped the Lord, which doesn't sound bad, right? You'd think that would be good, except that it was a different word that meant the Lord. This word was not the Hebrew word for Lord. It was the just a sort of one of the Northwest Semitic languages word for Lord, which is Baal or Baal. Mm-hmm. Now, that's all apparently that Baal means. It's just an honorific.
I think you're right.
It means
yeah.
Lord. It's not a name. It's a synonym to the Hebrew word Adon or Adonai, which if you went to the Jewish Community Center for preschool and summer camp like I did, is a very familiar term in Hebrew prayer because that's what they just call their God Adonai.
Yeah.
Baal is not a specific person or god or demon. It could refer to any god at the time, including old Yahweh himself. A little bit confusing, but the Bible decides that it's just a person, so there you go.
Right.
Jezebel's Baal was definitely not the great I Am, because that dude was pissed. So the Lord, the real Lord, our Lord, the big damn hero of this book, called on a cat from the town of Tishbe. He was a Tishbite, and that's true, to come and whine at them. That Tishbite's name was Elijah.
Elijah,
Pretty
hero
famous
of
dude.
something.
Yes, indeed. And we're going to talk about his first bit of heroism now. He was furious with King Ahab. He told Ahab, how did he happen to be talking to the king? Did he just bump into him at Costco? Who knows? But anyway, he told Ahab that there would be a drought. Now, neither dew nor rain would come for the next few years until he, Elijah, said so.
Oh.
So, boom! Our boy Elijah put the hammer down. Except that once the drought started, he was suddenly public enemy number 1, so he needed a spot to lay low for a while. So nobody would, torture him until he made the water come back or whatever.
Right.
So the Lord told him to go to the Kerith Ravine and just chill there. That was just a little bit east of Jordan. There was a brook for water, so our boy Elijah would be okay.
Wait, I thought there was a drought.
Shut up! Jesus! You're trying to ruin the story. No, we'll get to that.
It's fucked now.
There wasn't any food,
I don't buy
though.
any of it now.
Yeah.
Also, I'm sorry, but this is a country whose mascot is drought. The fact that there's
exactly.
a ravine anywhere with water in it would be a known fact, would it not? Or should I just shut up?
Just shush.
Sorry.
Just everybody shush, because you're about... Look, if we are going to question the logic of anything in this story, we will not get through it. So let's just accept what we hear and move on. Because here's the problem with the Kerith ravine. There wasn't any food there. But this was the Lord's boy, so he had a plan. And that plan was birds. No, not birds to eat. That wouldn't be weird and disgusting enough. So the Lord decided to have ravens fly in twice a day and deliver bread and meat to Elijah. You hear that, Bezos?
Yeah.
Raven drones. Think about it.
It was the first Uber Eats.
Yeah, it really was. And how gross is that? It's just
So gross.
ravens flying in, birds flying in your meals every day.
And
Anyway,
I doubt
there you go.
the meat came from a sanitary source.
Right, yeah, exactly. Those ravens weren't washing their hands for 20 seconds.
Where'd you get the meat? Don't worry about it. Okay?
Don't worry about it.
Enjoy
Fell off
your
the back
lunch.
of a truck. So anyway, as with all the Lord's perfect plans in the Bible, something went a little bit wrong in literally the stupidest way possible. As Prophet Doug said, when you curse a land with no water, apparently even the brook that's supplying the Lord's appointed prophet dries up. Come on, Lord. That's just bad planning. So the Lord sent Elijah to a nearby town where he said there would be a widow waiting to help out. Elijah went there and accosted the first old lady he saw, who was a lady out gathering sticks, because all good writing has fun little details like that, right? Elijah called out to the woman and said, "Hey, go get me a jug of water." To which she agreed and started off to her house, and then he yelled after her, "Oh, and bring me some bread too, please." The woman turned around and, I have to think, in the most incredulous voice in the universe, said, "I don't know if you've noticed, but we have this drought on, and it's kind of all anyone can talk about at the moment, so all I have left to eat in the whole fucking world is literally a handful of flour and a little bit of olive oil. I was just gathering these sticks here to make a fire and bake them into the last bit of bread that my son and I will eat before we starve to death and die. So, you know, ...
No thanks.
It literally says that. She literally says that.
Hey, remember that thing you caused to happen? Yeah, well, it's here.
Right. Yeah, she's literally baking the last loaf of bread before she dies. This is her big plan. Cute, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, Elijah says, "Don't sweat it. Use that flour and oil to make me a loaf of bread, and then bring it to me. Then go back and check it out. You'll have enough flour and oil to make another loaf for you and your son, and you'll always have enough until the day the rains come back." So that's a cute trick.
Whoever was in charge of calibrating the miracles in the Bible was a prick, because it always seems like here's some food, here's just a little more, right? It's never like an abundance. Your pantry will be full forever. It's like, go make that bread, and then there'll be another slice later. You're welcome.
Well, and you know,
exactly.
This is the same guy who had the power to stop the rain, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's the most. It's like the following Storm from the X-Men around, and watching her cause hurricanes, and then also use that same power to wash her windows. Do we need this part of the story?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit superfluous, and it's kind of there, I think, to establish that Elijah's got God magic with him, because he makes flour multiply. But Jesus Christ, it's low grade.
Yeah,
like that is as basic as you can get with a cool thing. There is a second miracle in that lady's house, because he lays low in that lady's house for a while. We don't know how long, but it's a while that he is there, eating magic flour bread with them. And then there's this whole thing where the boy was mysteriously dying, And Elijah prayed and saved him. It says that he threw himself on the boy 3 times, which to me sounds like he did CPR. Anyway, the boy comes back to life, thus firmly confirming to the widow that he is, in fact, the prophet of God, because apparently the eternal flower jars weren't enough, and it was just so super important that this one old lady was impressed by Elijah. But there's that. But let's get to the good stuff. Here we go. It had been 3 years into the drought, and life sucked. Famine was everywhere. Jezebel, very unhelpfully, if you asked me, had been killing off all of the Lord's prophets, which is sort of in line with the first rule of the Bible, which, as you guys all know, is bitches be cray. So one of Ahab's administrators, Obadiah, was secretly a Yahweh guy. And he became a prophet squirrel. He took 100 prophets of the Lord and hid them away in 2 caves. So 50 in each.
Can you imagine what insufferable company 50 prophets, oh my God, in a cave must be like?
Right?
Fuck that.
And then he somehow managed to sneak water and food to them all for a while.
That's a lot of ravens.
However long. That is a lot of ravens.
I think the qualifications for being a prophet must have been loosened in this time.
Right? Yeah. Anyway, all I can say is he took care of 100 people in 2 caves. Take that, family that hid Anne Frank. Anyway, so the Lord told Elijah to come back to King Ahab. Elijah went to this Obadiah guy and said, "Go tell Ahab I'm back." But Obadiah was like, Ahab has been looking everywhere for you and killing people trying to find out where you are. So if I tell him you're here and then you don't show up, he will straight murder me. So no, I'm not going to do that. But Elijah was all, I will totally 100% be here when Ahab shows up. Pinky swear. So Obadiah went, got him. And now it's time for the main event. Elijah told Ahab that Yahweh, his Lord, his God, was the bomb diggity and Baal was a bunch of bullshit, and it was time for a throwdown. Now, if Ahab had been smart, he would have just killed the guy, but he didn't. Elijah said, summon, I'll just quote from the Bible. Now summon the people from all over Israel to meet me on Mount Carmel. And bring the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah who eat at Jezebel's table. So, everybody in the whole county came and met on Mount Carmel, which is definitely, by the way, not a mountain by our standards, more of a mesa or a bluff or whatever. It's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, Elijah said, bring and kill 2 bulls. It's your 450 prophets against me. We'll both prep our sacrificial altars however we want, but not light them, and then we'll pray to our respective gods, and whoever's cow catches on fire first wins.
Sounds fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It's a good system.
Who doesn't
really
like a sporting challenge?
Right. So home team goes first, and that means that all the Baal guys gather together. There's 450 of them. They prepare a real nice altar. They get the wood on there. They get their cow on, and then they start praying. And they pray all day long. And meanwhile, old Elijah's just standing there, like totally heckling. Maybe pray louder. Come on. Maybe pray to the left. Pray a little to the right. Do something. And nothing. The fire never lights. The cow stays cowy, and they are sad.
Yeah.
So next up, it's Elijah's turn. Now he takes 12 stones representing the 12 tribes of Israel.
Well, why does everything have to represent everything? For fuck's sakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Magic.
Okay, fair enough. He arranges his wood in the middle. He digs a trench which apparently is big enough to hold 2 seahs of seed, which apparently is about 24 pounds or 11 kilograms of seed. He doesn't put seed in them. That's just how we know how big the trenches are. So
the seed metric.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hope that's useful for all of y'all. He cuts his bull into pieces, arranges it on the wood, and then he does his big moment. This is a great trick, you guys. Are you ready for this? You are not even going to believe how good this is. Because he's going to handicap himself.
Oh.
Not only does he have his altar there, he brings in 4 large jugs of water and drenches his thing in water.
I remember this.
Then he sends out and brings in 4 more large jugs of water and just keeps drenching everything in this water. And then again, he brings 4 more jugs of water. The trench is filled. Everything is soaked. It's impossible that this could light on fire, you guys. It's not doable.
This is so baller that if it doesn't pay off, I mean,
right. So then our boy prays to the Lord. Hey, Lord God, Yahweh, bring down the fire, baby. And boom! The fire of the Lord comes down and consumes not only the cow, but the wood underneath and the soil under it, and it even laps up all the water in the trench. And he wins.
Whoa.
Yay!
Now, here's the thing. I gotta, when I was a kid, when I was, in junior high, I got into magic a little bit. I'm a nerd. That's fine. I used to hang out at the magic store at the Crossroads Mall downtown.
Yeah, who told you that was
I'm
fine?
declaring it fine.
All right.
Eli said it was good.
Okay.
And so I used to hang out at the magic store downtown, and I used to read books on magic and all that stuff. But I like to think that even if I had never read anything on magic, I would be slightly incredulous enough to think to myself, you know what else looks a lot like water? Stuff that's really, really flammable.
Like kerosene.
Like kerosene or
very small
any
rocks.
number of oils or whatever that are highly fucking flammable.
Right.
So to me, what Elijah did was just a good trick. I mean, it seems pretty obvious that, like, if the fire's lapping up the water in the trench, that's not water.
Well,
fair enough.
It's like he's like a psychic because he set up the rules, right?
Right, exactly.
He said, okay, here's how this is going to work. And then his version of it works.
Right.
Yeah. I'll be a little skeptical
Everybody,
about that.
all of the incredulous dupes around are amazed and in awe and wonder, and he tells the crowd, which smart of him to have a crowd there, to seize all 450 of the prophets of Baal, and they do, and take them down to a ravine and fucking murder them.
Oh my God. That sounds about right.
That sounds awesome.
That is a high-stakes magic show.
Yes, indeed. Do not lose at that game. And then and that's the end of that. There's more. It goes on, but we don't have time for all of his magic shows. So that was the first one, and that is Elijah.
Oh, the moral of the story must be in the rest of the story, right? Because it's not in this part.
Correct. Well, the moral of the story is God is real. And the thing about it, and then of course what ends up happening is that rain comes, because that's what he promised would happen. So there you go. Elijah's real, and God apparently is totally okay with showing everybody proof that he exists, which I think is, to me, the big takeaway from the stories of the Bible is, why the fuck is God not doing any of this shit anymore? He used to do it all the fucking time. It has been 2,000 years since Jesus, and we have seen nary a real miracle that matters. So I'm pissed. That's all I'm saying.
Dan, have you ever seen a waterfall?
I'm so mad at you right now.
Magnets.
We're in a fight.
The fuck do they work? All right, well, great. That's Elijah, and I'm sure there's more highly moral
Jesus.
things we can take from that story another time, right?
The Bible's just full of it.
That's
It's
for
literally
sure.
full of it.
And tell that one to the kids tonight before bed.
Yep. And with that, let us move on.
Let's move on.